Well, maybe you have an aversion to religion because you saw some examples of it that were pretty disgraceful. So now you don't want to have anything to do with religion, or maybe just one particular religion. But you can say that with anything. You don't have to just necessarily point to religion. You can say that about politics. You can say that about sports. You can say that about music, the music industry, the showbiz, Hollywood. You know, there's hypocrisy everywhere. It doesn't matter what the affiliation is, what the groups are, who the individuals are. What kind of there's all hypocrisy covers all cultures, all denominations, all franchises, all corporations, all politics, no matter what party you belong to. Hypocrisy is there because people are human. People are prone not only for error, but they're prone to be arrogant and self-conceited, and they're prone to tell others how to do certain things, but they themselves don't do what they tell other people to do. They set standards for everyone else, but they don't adhere to their own standards. But we see that. We see that everywhere. You don't have to really blame this group or that group. You don't have to blame Christianity. You don't have to blame Islam. You don't have to blame JWs or Mormons or Catholics, or you don't have to blame Buddhists. There's flaws in every organization. Nothing's perfect yet. It was in the very beginning according to ancient records, but we lost that perfection, so man's prone to errors until one day we get back to where it was in the very beginning of history. According to, if you buy into the creation story, the creation legends, they're almost in every culture around the world. They all talk about a point of origin in man's history. A point of origin that was perfect and pure and lovely, and until it got corrupted somehow. Something gave way to evil, or evil was introduced to a perfect scenario, and it tainted man with false ideas and shameful tactics and practices, and a perverted mindset. And they didn't have a problem with perversion in the very beginning. People's minds were pure. They treated each other respectfully and with love, and they helped their neighbor. That's how it was in the very beginning. But then there was a tempter, an influencer that challenged the early inhabitants to question their creator, and then they started questioning stuff, and inquiring minds want to know, and they started challenging what was said to them about the do's and don'ts. They had laws in ancient times too, not just within their own individual cultures, but before everyone split off into their own people groups, there was one group of people, and it obviously started with a male and a female and their children, their offspring, and they developed into small families and tribes, and then towns and cities and villages and fortifications, and they populated the whole earth. Eventually, it just took a while, and but they had the knowledge of God in the very beginning. They had a knowledge of His ways, and they had direct fellowship with God, and they had no problem adhering to God's ways and standards. There was a blessing in them. They were prosperous agriculturally. They were prosperous in business endeavors. But there were still problems. There were still hardships because they lost that perfection because of corruption. So all of creation was producing, thorns and thistles, as it says in Genesis. It wasn't just flowers and fruit. There was corrupt seed that they had to toil the land that produced thorns and thistles. Whereas before they were in a Garden of Eden, they were in a perfect paradise. And I'm not sure if it was labor intensive. I'm sure it was a joy. It wasn't a grudge. It wasn't done grudgingly to work in the garden, to tend it. Now, of course, everything's kind of done, by the sweat of our brows, as Mosaic teachings reveal. By the sweat of our brow. That's how we survive. It's difficult, but it wasn't that way in the very beginning. Hopefully, they say technology is going to help us be perfect and better. But we had all that before technology, before man-made technology. There was no corruption, but we're trying to restore paradise with virtual technology, a virtual Garden of Eden. But it's all going to be computerized, and everything's going to be AI, and everything's going to be diseases are going to be cured. No more genetic defects, because everyone's going to be turned into a computer essentially. So if there's any errors in our genetic code, the computer will fix it. It's going to be pretty cool. But the thing about it is, we initially had perfect genetic structure in the very beginning. There were no bad mutations. The only mutations there were was good, beneficial mutations, but not bad ones, not cancer, not other ailments. Just mutations that cause variation, different skin colors, shapes and sizes of people.